It's Talk of Iowa from IPR News. I'm Charity Nebbe. Later this hour, we'll get a preview of the 10th annual Beaverdale Bluegrass Festival, and we'll also remember a man who loomed large in Iowa's bluegrass community. But first, Mr. Clean and the Brawny Man are mascots designed to sell you cleaning products. Mrs. Meyer of Mrs. Meyer's Clean Day is a real woman who lives right here in Iowa, and she's not just any woman. Mrs. Thelma Meyer is a force of nature. She raised 9 children who were born in the space of 10 years. She worked as a nurse and had a strong impact on many friends and neighbors in Granger, Iowa over the years. When her daughter, Monica Nassif, needed to name a new company that would bring high-quality cleaning products to the masses, she decided to name it after her mother, and that's how Mrs. Meyer's Clean Day came to be. Nassif has written a book that is part memoir, part how-to for aspiring entrepreneurs. It's called I Bottled My Mother, the Mrs. Meyer's Story, Grit, Grime, and Growing a Business. And both women are here with me today. Hello, Monica.
Hello, delighted to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. And hello, Thelma.
Hello.
Oh, it's wonderful to have both of you here. And Monica, I want to start with you. You started your professional life as a nurse, following in your mom's footsteps. What took you into the business world?
You know what? I was a nurse because I had typed my way in an emergency room at Mercy Hospital in Des Moines. And I got into nursing because I thought the ER nurses were all top guns. And then once I got into the profession, I realized, you know what, I'm kind of miscast. I always wanted to be an English major. So then I went back to college and picked up my English degree and then had an internship at Dayton-Hudson, which was the Target organization. So that's how I got into business.
All right. And that seems like such a straightforward path to English major to the business world. So you were in business communications. How did that lead to entrepreneurship?
So I was with the Dayton-Hudson organization for a number of years, and then I started a marketing agency, and most of our clients were with Target and other consumer product companies. So over the years, I learned a lot about products inside Target, how stores look, how merchandising works. And then I had this eureka moment in this store in Atlanta where I saw all these cleaning products on a wooden pallet, tipped over. The liquids were garish. The triggers looked like machine guns, and the odors were terrible. And I thought, what if this category of household cleaning products could be amazing? So that was my eureka moment. That's how I came up with Caldria and Mrs. Meyer's.
All right. Well, and Caldria came first. And these were really high-end products for some of the, I guess, the finer stores that we might encounter. And those products were named for your daughters, right?
Right, Calla and Andrea. So I was using what I had to work with. And because I was typically working under time pressure and those names were available, when you try to trademark a brand.
So Mrs. Meyer's came about because you had the insight to say, okay, Caldria products are popular. We are being successful. Someone is going to create a knockoff and they're going to sell a lot of product. That was your eureka moment again?
No, that was my eureka. That was a moment of panic. So I had this idea, to really reinvent household cleaning with Caldria. And I thought someone is going to take our idea to the mass market where 80% of all household cleaning products are sold. So I had a boss who always said to me, Monica, saw off the branch you're sitting on so it forces you to reach for the one above you. And I thought, it's time to get out the saw. We have got to reinvent ourselves to go to the mass market, to the Targets, Walmarts, and Costco's of the world. So we were brainstorming and about our own personal values. I grew up in Iowa. My mother was frugal, hardworking, earnest. She really believes in saving Mother Nature. And it just said, we should just name this after my mom. So I called my mom, and she was in the garden, of course, and her first comment is, could you please come down and pull the weeds from the fence?
You're in Minneapolis. She was in Granger.
I'm in Minneapolis,
so that's
exactly.
Not super convenient.
No, but she would take it if I had driven down. So then I said, would you be a brand? And her comment was, you remember what you said?
What's a brand? Had no idea what a brand was.
So you became a brand, though, Thelma, and not just a brand, but you kind of became a spokesperson for the company. Were you prepared for that adventure?
Not really, but I loved people, and Monica gave me the opportunity, so I can handle something like that, visit with people and share wonderful products, which is what I did at grocery stores. Samples,
Nice.
passing out samples was my first job.
That's so fun. And Monica, before we get too deep into this story, I wonder if you would read for us just a little bit from chapter 1 of your book, because it really gives us some insight into the kind of world that you were dealing with when you were trying to get this company off the ground.
I'd be happy to. Chapter 1, The Real Deal. I was raised to be educated. A direct quote from a highfalutin editor of a major home decor magazine. She twirled around in her ergonomic office chair as if she were hanging the moon, even though she was only 45 floors above street level in Midtown Manhattan. Her chair spun silently, so I knew it had to be pricey. She asked me, as founder of the Mrs. Meyer's Clean Day Company, how I was raised. To her utter dismay, I saw her snicker quietly to herself during one of her rotations. I responded, I was raised to be a domestic. I was taught to cook, clean, sew, garden, raise babies, and take care of the home. Her retort was swift. I was raised to be educated. I know what you might be thinking, so much for women's lib. Yet as the oldest girl of 9 children, all showing up in a span of 10 short years, there was a lot of work to do around the house. And I was second in command. That was my reality. My mother, Thelma Meyer, raised my 3 sisters and me to care for our home. That's right, domestic skills. My 5 brothers were hustled outside to mow lawns, shovel snow, and help my dad fix a car or build another bedroom onto our small Cape Cod house in Granger, Iowa. Without questions, our mother raised me with many more skills than how to be a scullery maid, yet that was my starting point. On the floor, mopping up food from under the dining room table, or bellied up to the kitchen stove. That's how I learned to make my way into the world. In addition to wondering how I was raised, the editor asked, "Who is your role model?" Each time I am asked this question, I pause. I always think I should answer St. Joan of Arc, Sojourner Truth, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or Beyoncé, a woman with her name in lights. My mother, I told her. That is one reason I wrote the book. I stepped in line right behind my mother as she marched her small army through the world with gusto and her erect, confident, and fearless stride. Up for breakfast at 6 a.m., walk 3 blocks to school, weed the garden after a rain, follow her on long hikes in national parks across the West, and just try to keep up as she made a beeline for the sales racks at Merle Hay Mall in Des Moines, Iowa. My mother was raised on a dirt-poor farm in Kansas with no electricity or running water, and now she proudly sports an iPhone. Our entire family was educated by a lively mix of uncanny common sense, hard knocks, and a crazy quilt of odd jobs. All of us learning on the go. We survived 12 years of itchy wool uniforms in strict Catholic schools, and all 9 of us paid for our own college education. We all graduated, and several of my siblings earned advanced degrees. Our New York Public Relations Agency at the time had pitched the Mrs. Meyer's story to the aforementioned editor. Our startup was growing rapidly as we were gaining traction with several major retailers. That's why I assumed the editor was interviewing me. Instead, she used our time together to brag about her East Coast private school educational triumphs and her unparalleled business achievements. Hey, I'm a proud cornball from Iowa. I kept my trap shut and allowed her to make a damn fool out of herself. If she wants to surmise that I'm better at scrubbing a toilet than creating Excel pivot tables, so be it. In the end, our company, Mrs. Meyer's Clean Day, earned a major feature story in her magazine. As my mother commented later, things usually work out.
That is Monica Nassif reading from her book, I Bottled My Mother, the Mrs. Meyer story, Grit, Grime, and Growing a Business. And I want to talk to both of you now because, of course, Monica Nassif is here with me, along with her mom, Thelma Meyer, about growing up in your house in Granger. So let's start with you, Thelma. Your mother was also quite the force of nature, and Monica refers to her as an entrepreneur in her own day, although I'm sure she didn't think of herself as an entrepreneur. I think she thought of herself as a woman who was making sure that her family had enough to eat. But you grew up with a pretty incredible work ethic, didn't you, Thelma?
Absolutely. I did. I was the oldest one in my family also.
How many siblings in your family?
There's 7 underneath me. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
the oldest. Yes.
So you were always raising siblings and
Yes.
helping your mom out and riding a pony as well, right?
Yes. I begged for a pony, and Dad would come home one night with it in the trailer. I was so excited.
And what did you use that pony for?
He made me get on the pony and ride her out to the lane, but the minute Shetland got out to the lane, she'd buck me off, and she wasn't going out on the road. And he made me do it 3 times. And the 4th time he followed me out, he gave that horse a kick in the flank, and away we went. And I hung on for dear life. He said, "You have to show Shetland ponies who's boss."
Oh, my goodness.
And I did, and it worked.
All right. And you really became partners with that pony, riding bareback all over the farm, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness. I think that gives us a little bit of an indication of a character that maybe was formed pretty early on. Thelma, you were always pretty scrappy?
Well, I guess I was always doing something busy.
So you went to nursing school. You fell in love. You got married. You had 9 children in 10 years. And the first babies were twin boys.
Yes.
And you also kept working, which is really unusual for a woman at that time. Why were you determined to do it all?
Well, because we lived in a small trailer in Des Moines, and my husband found out I was pregnant again. He said, "We're getting a house." So Monica was born right after we got this new house. And I loved nursing, and it gave a chance for my husband to learn how to take care of babies. He was not a real father ongoing father, who did everything.
Right.
Because I thought I was pretty capable, and I would ask him to hold one while I held one. But it was nice to have him put them to bed now and then. So that's kind of what went through my brain.
All right. Well, we have to take a short break. We'll be back in just a moment. This hour, I have with me Monica Nassif, who is the author of I Bottled My Mother, the Mrs. Meyer's Story, Grit, Grime, and Growing a Business. She is the founder of Mrs. Meyer's Clean Day, and she named that company after her mother, the real Mrs. Meyer. And Mrs. Thelma Meyer is also here with us today. She is 93 years old now and still living in Granger, Iowa. We will talk more in a moment. This is Talk of Iowa from IPR News. It's Talk of Iowa from IPR News. I'm Charity Nebbe. Coming up in 20 minutes, we will get a preview of the 10th annual Beaverdale Bluegrass Festival. Right now, we are meeting some remarkable women. Monica Nassif is the founder of Mrs. Meyer's Clean Day, and she's written a memoir that is also a how-to guide for entrepreneurship. It's called I Bottled My Mother, the Mrs. Meyer's Story, Grit, Grime, and Growing a Business. When she founded Mrs. Meyer's Clean Day, she named it after her mom, Thelma Meyer, who is also here with us today. And we've been talking a little bit about their background, a really remarkable family background. And Thelma, I want to ask you, you had 9 kids in 10 years, so I can only even begin to imagine how much activity was going on in your house all the time when your kids were growing up. What was your parenting philosophy? How did you think about raising 9 kids?
Well, mostly I was in charge.
Mostly. All right.
Yes. And they just followed one another. They learned what happened to the first one. And then afterwards, they learned that they needed to behave. It was like a daycare center, I could sit and sew, and they would play in the living room, and I could watch my washing machine, hear it. I could hear what was cooking on the stove. I knew what they were doing. I never had TV on or radio on because I knew what my family was doing. I never hollered for them because I went to look at them. Because when you holler, then you interrupt their thinking process. So I never interrupted that if I had to, because I didn't like to be interrupted in my conversation. So that's, I think, one thing that happened, and I was kind of consistent. I didn't have a lot of rules. The rules I've had, I insisted they be followed.
And that's, Monica, you were talking about your mom's approach to sitting there where she had eyes and ears on everything going on in the house. You think that maybe she invented the spoke and hub model that
Yeah.
airlines have adopted.
She was ahead of FedEx and Delta. She had a hub and spoke system. The hub was without question her sewing machine, and the spokes were a garden, nap area, washing machine, kitchen. It was a very small house. So she did have the eye on the prize, believe me. She was watching what we were doing, and she called the television an idiot box, except we did get to watch Jack LaLanne. He was our favorite exercise guru.
Well, and it almost sounds like Jack LaLanne may have been required viewing in the mornings, was it?
Exactly.
The kids got to play with me as I was on the floor doing exercises, So it all worked out. They all loved to play with me. You know how the kids love to have them be swung up in the air on your feet and that kind of stuff. So.
That's a great muscle building program.
Right.
A progressive weights program as the kids get bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Well, and Monica, you were the oldest girl. You have twin brothers who are older than you. And as you grew, that made you described yourself as second in command. Tell me about that.
Well, when Mom left, my father traveled a lot for business. He was an engineer with John Deere, so he was gone a lot. And my mom would occasionally, run errands, and also she's an avid bridge player to this day. So when she went to bridge club, I was in charge, and I was in charge of my twin brothers.
I have a hard time. I have two older brothers. No one ever put me in charge of them ever.
Right.
I can't imagine. Did they take that well?
Once in a while. No, it was really more about protecting the young ones. That's what it was really about.
Well, I mean, you learned so much, as you've already mentioned, from your mom about cooking, cleaning, taking care of kids, growing a garden, so many of the fundamentals that all of us need in life. But it sounds like this level of responsibility that you had and the freedom that you had, you also feel like that prepared you for this life that you've led. Tell me your thoughts about that.
Oh, for sure. The minute we could work, we had a job. We were encouraged to go earn our own money. As my mom always said, the confidence of a paycheck. So the minute I could babysit, which I did, and I was, again, competent at babysitting, so I would be a babysitter, and then I used to walk soybeans.
Yeah.
I had a crew of about 6 girls, and we did that. And then I became a truck stop waitress. I lied about my age.
At 15, you became a truck stop waitress, right?
Yes, at 15.
Oh, that makes me want to throw up.
Hey, you know what? I learned a lot. My dad thought I was on the road to prostitution. However, I had a fantastic boss, and he really level set expectations. The first day I show up, he shows me a big carafe of coffee, and this guy was huge. He said, "You see this pot of coffee? Someone touches you, someone says something inappropriate, you pour that coffee in their lap and have them see me." So all the regulars knew this. This guy ran this. It was his diner, and he watched it like a hawk. So no one messed with us. So I didn't have any trouble in that way, and I learned all kinds of things from those truck drivers and Iowa patrolmen, and it was quite a place for learning to, quote, work with people, believe me.
Well, and you also developed your typing skills, and that was your ticket to a much more interesting job. Tell me about that.
Well, so I was a party puffer in high school, and my father, again, hated the fact that I smoked cigarettes. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't really like him either. And he said, I'll buy you an electric typewriter, because I wanted to be a writer. I'll buy you an electric typewriter if you quit smoking. So I did very quickly. And so I learned to type at home. And he had a typewriter, and a vintage manual one. And I loved that typewriter because he was a journalist in college for the college newspaper. So I learned to type on his typewriter, and then I got my own typewriter. And the other reason I liked the typewriter was it was mine. When you grow up in a large family, you don't have a lot of personal possessions. Everything is shared, but I didn't share this thing at all. So I was a secretary then at the emergency room at Mercy Hospital. And I typed my way through high school and college there, as well as my sisters did too. And that was a fantastic job.
You all were just learning the computer too, and the older secretaries were having a hard time with it. So the computers were right down my daughter's alley.
Yeah, that's when the word processing equipment, believe it or not, it sounds so quaint, was coming into play. And it was like, to me, like a typewriter. It was so easy. And the older women who worked in the admitting department really didn't fancy working on those newfangled machines, if you will.
I can remember telling Monica, I said, Monica, if you do a good job, all the girls will get a job there. And I knew it was a good, safe job and a very intelligent job. And they met people and they saw amazing things in the emergency room, and they learned a lot of stuff that I would have never told them.
Yeah,
I'm sure you did.
I mean, I'm typing there at age 16, and the things I saw that come into the ER, I was like, I don't know if Mom knows what I'm listening to right now.
Yeah, you share some of those stories in the book.
Yeah, I don't think we can share on public radio.
No, probably not.
No.
Well,
No.
Thelma, I mean, it sounds like you really wanted to give your kids the freedom that they needed to really become competent adults. You said, I'm not raising kids, I'm raising adults. But there's a story that Monica shares in the book that really touched me about a time when you did go down to the school and you gave a nun a dressing down on behalf of your daughter. Can you tell me that story?
Maria came home. Now, she's 13 months younger than Monica, and she come home one day and she said, Mom, sister said, well, I hope you don't become like Monica, your older sister. And I said, what? And she repeated to me, and I said, well, I'm going down there and talk to her because I never compared my children. And I said, I don't want anybody else comparing them either. So I went down to the Dowling and, well, Mrs. Meyer, do you have an appointment? I said, do I need one at a private school? Right this way. So I got to talk to Sister, not very long, but I said to her, Sister, I have 9 children and I don't compare any of them, and I would appreciate if you didn't.
Wow.
And that was the end of our conversation.
And it was effective, except that this same nun told you not to bother applying to college, right, Monica?
Yeah, that's when I knew I was going to apply to college.
Right.
Yeah, I was not a ideal student in high school. I had other activities going on.
She pushed the envelope, let's say.
Well, maybe that prepared you for the future.
I think so. I was in trouble a lot. I knew how to get out of trouble. It prepares you well for entrepreneurship.
Right. I can imagine. And let's fast forward a little bit because, again, back to your career as an entrepreneur, when you had the idea for Caldria, these high-end cleaning products, and then you decided to knock off your own product and create Mrs. Meyer's. So you asked your mom not just to give you her name for the company, but also to be your spokesmodel, I think is how you put it. And you pretty quickly learned, Monica, that you weren't going to have much control over what your mother said. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, I don't have any control over her. So the first time I realized I had no control is she just told me when we were in the car driving here, don't tell that story, but now you've teed me up, so I'm going to tell the story.
All right, good.
So we wrote a book about cleaning, and it was Mrs. Meyer's How to Clean Like the Dickens. And so we were in New York City with our agent trying to find a publisher. So we are driving around a big old black limo car around New York City. My mom is just agog at what's happening.
Every 15 minutes we saw another publisher.
Right. And it's a whirlwind of a day.
Yes.
And she's treated like a celebrity. And we walk into this large publishing house, and this woman from Texas just grabs my mom, just starts loving her, hugging her, going, oh, Mrs. Myers, I just love you. I love your product. I'm so excited. So my mom, they're almost making out. They're just like having a love fest. So we sit down at a table, and this woman from Texas, this editor, says to her, Mrs. Myers, how in the world did you have 9 children in 10 years? And my mother said, well, I had a box of 48 Kotex, and I never got through it. So after that, it was so embarrassing that she said that.
That is not embarrassing at all.
No? Okay, good. I'm glad you think so.
Thank you. People didn't even know what the word was.
But it was true.
It was true.
Right.
It was real.
I mean, 9 babies in 10 years.
In 1954, that you didn't need too many. I had 9 in 10 years.
Right. I'm sure that is 100% true. So, Thelma, what did you like about being a spokesmodel for your daughter's company?
I love to travel, and the other thing that made me so happy was my husband Vern just fell in love with my job too. He was my AA, my administrative assistant. He was very clever with the computer, and I wasn't. So he could type all these things, and he would find all these articles in all the different magazines. He'd say, "Thelma, I found another article. Thelma, come," and he'd document it all. And then when we were writing the book, the first one, he could send it to me, the first copy, the New York or whoever was doing this could send me the first copy. I could make the changes, and he could type them back for me. So it really worked out great. And that made me happy. When your husband is happy with what you're doing, then he's the only one to be at home to listen to me and see what's going on. He made it part of his world, too, and that was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's really lovely. And do you have like a highlight, a favorite memory from when you were traveling and selling these products?
I do have a favorite move. Yes. Monica said, "Mom, you've traveled enough now. You don't need anybody to travel with you. Now, this is what you do. You fly to New York. You follow my rules exactly. You do not get in a black cab when you get out of the airport. You only get in the yellow cab line." And I said, "Well, I can do that." So that's what I did. I got in the yellow cab line to go to this place in Manhattan somewhere. I don't remember where it was.
Down in Soho.
I had the address for the cab driver. He took me right there. And when he got there, I went, "Are you sure you're in the right place? Because it looked terrible. It looked like a warehouse district." And I said, "I'm looking for a bunch of ladies that are promoting a product." And he said, "This is it." He said, I'm sure. Are you sure? He says. So I got out of the cab, and I walked out towards this door. It was a huge warehouse door, and somebody met me that set me. They said, "Oh yeah, just get in. We'll take you up to the third floor." And they opened up the doors to a beautiful room of lovely food and flowers and reporters and my daughter's face.
It was a product launch.
Okay, nice.
She made it on her own. That was proud
That's
of her.
awesome. Yeah. That is really, really wonderful.
That's most memorable. That's the most memorable one.
So, Monica, you have shared so many wonderful stories in this book. You've shared a lot of wisdom that you've gained from your years in business. And when you sold Mrs. Meyer's, you were still young. You still had a lot of energy.
Yeah.
You wanted to keep at it. And you launched another company after that, which was not successful. And
Right.
and you write about that as well. Why do you think it's important to share the failures as well as the successes?
Because I think if you talk to most successful entrepreneurs, they've had a string of failures. And I learned my best lessons through failure. When I started a luxury watch line before I started Mrs. Meyer's, and I learned one thing, that you have to really have a powerhouse sales team. So I thought, I am not launching another business until I come home with a fistful of POs. That was kind of my purchase orders. That was kind of my operating model. So I learned my most painful lessons when you lose money and time. And so I started another company, probably because I was too young, still had gas in my tank. I've always worked. Like I mentioned, I've been working since age 10, and it's hard not to be busy, if you will. And my mom has a great saying that I discovered when I wrote the book. She said, for us, rest is a sort of punishment. And I think about that. I always have a project going. So, but failure teaches you a lot.
We said work was a joy.
Yeah, work was a joy.
Your dad had that one.
Yeah. We liked working.
And Thelma, you obviously are still doing your best to get the most out of life at 93. Do you have some wisdom for people in entering their retirement years, things we should keep in mind?
Well, just keep in mind to keep exercise in your life. I have all for the honor and glory of God is my first words out of my mouth every day. And I go to Mass every day, and I can walk, and I try to walk. I'm not walking as much anymore, but I eat healthy. I eat all my own food that I prepare. I don't do anything from the stores. I've always eaten healthy. I taught the kids how to eat healthy. And I play bridge. I like people. I can't remember what else
I
to tell
think, Mom, if I had to add something, I would say you say yes. When people ask you to go somewhere or do something, the answer is yes. You say yes to life.
I don't say where and why and who, what time.
No, you just...
Yep. I'm ready.
You're just ready to go.
I got to tell you a story about that. Tim, just about last year at this time, said to me, "Mom," this is one of my twin sons. He was 70. "Mom, where would you like to go if you had your druthers?" And I said, "Let me think about it." So I thought about it for a while. I come back and said, "I'd like to go to Africa to go on a safari." Okay. 2 weeks later, he had a trip planned.
Oh, my goodness.
And I went in September with him. It was the most fantastic trip I have ever been on in my life. It was amazing to go into the bush and to
Wow.
live in the bush. I lived 3 nights in Zimbabwe, 3 nights in Botswana, and I can't think of the other country. We visited 3 countries in
Well,
Africa.
we're out of time. You are both such incredibly dynamic and inspiring women. Thank you both so much for talking with me today.
Delighted to be here.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been talking with Monica Nassif. She's the author of I Bottled My Mother, the Mrs. Myers story, Grit, Grime, and Growing a Business. And I've been talking with her mother, Mrs. Thelma Meyer, who was the face of the company Mrs. Myers Clean Day, which was founded by Monica. Coming up in just a moment, we will preview the annual Beaverdale Bluegrass Festival. This is Talk of Iowa. It's Talk of Iowa from IPR News. I'm Charity Nebbe. The 10th annual Beaverdale Bluegrass Festival is coming up on July 11th. In a few minutes, I will talk with 2 members of the Baberhood Bluegrass Band, Jerry Haley and Andrew Hoiberg, and we'll remember their former bandmate, Jeff Blanchard, a staple of the Des Moines jam and bluegrass scene who passed away in 2017. With me right now is Dana Bensinger, a founding committee member of the Beaverdale Bluegrass Festival. Hello, Dana.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. And Dana, this has really turned into a beloved tradition in Beaverdale, a real family event over the last decade. For people who haven't been, tell me about it.
Well, we used to be called the Beaverdale Live, and we'd shut down Beaver Avenue. And I noticed, I was president at the time of the Beaverdale Business Association, and each year our crowds dropped a little bit due to the fact that I felt like we were playing the same music that the other venues were over the summer. In other words, Ingersoll Live and Johnston Green Days. And we all played songs from 60s, 70s, 80s. We hired the bands, and you know, it was something that wasn't, we were losing attendance. I talked with Tim Boson and mentioned that. He was on our committee at the time, and he suggested going to bluegrass. We did that, and our numbers started to creep up, but we lost our venue. So we decided, my suggestion was move to Tower Park, the event. And we had to go through the Des Moines Parks and Rec. We had to get the Merle Hay Neighborhood Association to sign off. And we pulled it off, and people started showing up, and we made it tried to make it as family friendly as possible. It was free to everybody. The bands loved it. We started going from like 800 people showing up to 1,200 almost immediately. And last count I had was we got up to 3,500. And the reason why was it was free. It was a beautiful setting. It's kind of like a little amphitheater there with the trees wrapping around. We had excellent parking, and we still do. And that I attribute all those good things to why our numbers grew, and we retained that family influence. So the people really are turning out. As the more people turned out, the bands, instead of us trying to track them down, they started calling us, because word around the region and the bluegrass is that we had a great venue, and large crowds are showing up.
So it's, as you mentioned, it's in Tower Park, and it runs like from 2:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's totally free. There are food trucks and a family-friendly atmosphere. Did you know anything about bluegrass when you decided to make that shift to bluegrass, Dana?
I personally didn't, other than I knew that, you know, the picking of the banjos and the fiddles would be something completely different. I didn't know the bands at all. We hired I think the first year we hired one called what was it, the Chicken Prowler or Henhouse Prowlers, and they brought the house down. And the people were dancing in the grass, and it was really a lot of fun. And I'd recommend it
So that
I see
turned you into a believer. I mean, it really sounds
yeah.
you shifted the kind of music and the crowds came. So it sounds like bluegrass has a lot to do with the success of this festival, not
Oh,
just the atmosphere, right?
absolutely. The fact that we had a different genre. I'll be honest, I came up with the name the Beaverdale Bluegrass Festival. I like alliteration, and it's a little catchy, and I think everything started working in our direction. But the number one thing was we offered something completely different than the other venues throughout the Polk County area.
What are you excited about this year?
I can't believe it's our 10th anniversary. I mean, it's gone quickly. I'm hopefully I see where we're getting a little bit more publicity, and hopefully we get the crowds continue to grow. Bring your chairs, your lawn chairs, or your blankets. Bring the kids, and have a good time.
Well, Dana, thank you so much for talking with me. I hope you have a great time.
We will. We'll be there, and hopefully 3,500 of our most favorite neighbors will show up too.
I hope so too. Dana Bensinger is a founding committee member of the Beaverdale Bluegrass Festival. It's coming up on July 11th. You can find out more at beaverdalebluegrass.com. And one of the bands performing this year is the Baberhood Bluegrass Band. As a band, they not only make great music, they also carry the legacy of Jeff Blanchard, a staple in the Des Moines jam and bluegrass scene who passed away in 2017. Both of my next guests performed with Blanchard in the band Mr. Baber's Neighbors. Jerry Haley is here. He plays the upright bass. Hello, Jerry.
Hello, Charity. Thank you for having us. This is awesome.
Well, it's wonderful to have you here. Andrew Hoiberg is also here. He plays banjo and guitar. Hello, Andrew.
Hey, Charity. Pleasure to be here. I'm a longtime listener of the show, so it's a big pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you so much. And Jerry, take us back to the beginning of starting to make music with Jeff.
Wow. Okay, well, it goes back for me to 1997. I worked at the Des Moines Radio Group. I was an account executive there, and Jeff went by the name Jeff Craig. He was on air. And he did evenings with Laser. I think he had the 7P shift. And we got together and started a band called the Norman Stagger Band after we met. And after that group kind of dissolved after a few years, we went ahead and kind of had the idea, you know what, let's think about some bluegrass. I had just purchased an upright bass, and so all those years ago, things got kicked off, and we've been going strong ever since, even after Jeff's passing.
And the bluegrass was Jeff's idea?
Oh, gosh. I think it was kind of a mutual thing. I don't remember specifically, but it would have been pushed by him more than anything. You know, even when we were in our previous band, we played a lot of music that had a bluegrassy type of feel. And after getting the upright bass, it just seemed like the appropriate thing to do.
Andrew, how did you get involved?
Well, I'm a Iowa native, and I moved back here from Colorado in 2007 to go to graduate school. And through a mutual friend who I'm sure some of the listeners here will recognize the name of Mike Finders, who was also a kind of a bluegrass stalwart in the Iowa scene back in the Iowa City area back in those days, introduced Jeff and I and said, hey, I think you guys need to meet. You're a banjo player. They're looking for someone to fill in on banjo. At the time, Paul Perkins, who was playing banjo, had some young kids, and so they needed somebody to start filling in on banjo. So around the 2008, 2009 time frame, I came in and started playing banjo with Mr. Baber's Neighbors, and happy to still be doing it to this day.
And I'm guessing that Mr. Baber's Neighbors was the inspiration for the Baberhood Bluegrass Band's name. I'm right about that, right?
You are 100% correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we had, with Mr. Baber's Neighbors, we kind of affectionately called the fans of the band the Baberhood. And so if you were a member of the Baberhood, you were a fan of Mr. Baber's Neighbors. And, it just kind of made sense that after Jeff passed, we felt like it was appropriate to kind of change the name. We were a different outfit, and very much the group after Jeff passed was all about sort of honoring him. And so we changed the name to kind of represent the community, and we also, like Dana mentioned, liked alliteration. and the Beaverdale Bluegrass Band came out.
I think we all love alliteration. So tell me what playing with Jeff was like. And Jerry, you can go first, but I want to hear from you too, Andrew.
I told a story in our pre-interview that I'll go ahead and throw out there. First, he was just kind of larger than life. Jeff on stage was just the consummate frontman. He always was good with the jokes, good with the communication with the crowd, good with relating to the crowd, beyond just being a great musician. And thinking back, in particular, even back to our sort of electric band days, Jeff would spend time after shows and throughout the gigs with Mr. Baber's Neighbors, when we were done, mingling with the crowd, getting to know people, being genuine with people, nurturing the relationship with the fans, not just at a cursory level, but at a what I would call, I suppose, an intimate level, genuinely wanting to get to know people. And that's who he really was. I remember getting mad at him after shows because, darn it, he wouldn't help me carry the equipment.
So it was a little bit annoying, is what you were saying.
Sure. And I think we had some words after a few of those times in it, but I didn't realize at the time he was doing more for the band in those efforts than anybody could. And that's the reason why there's still a band around today. It's the reason why so many people, I think, have an affinity with the band and love still coming out. And that story just speaks volumes still for me, just because he had a knack for things that went beyond the music. And everybody appreciated it. And people miss him. People love him. There's this cool shirt we got in the show we did to kind of memorialize him after he passed. And we called the show One Last Social. And a former mandolin player of ours, Mike Tallman, had designed this awesome image of Jeff. And people wear these shirts now, and they travel the world taking Jeff along with them, and still get posts on his memorial Facebook page of people traveling everywhere across the world with their Jeff shirts and going to concerts and going on vacations. And he still lives with us all today through things like that. And just a really special guy. We all miss him.
Andrew, what do you want to add?
Well, I think in terms of what it was like to play with Jeff, he always kind of kept you on your toes. He would bring songs that were outside the kind of the normal bluegrass realm, which were always interesting and fun to play. But, to kind of piggyback on Jerry's point about the consummate frontman, that's something that we've all tried to carry on. But, Jeff just had that knack for being able to communicate with the audience. And I heard a musician recently, I can't remember who it was, Keith Richards or Bruce Springsteen or somebody, saying that, you're being an entertainer and being a musician is like having a lifelong conversation with your audience. And I think that Jeff really exemplified that. And, he was good at telling jokes. He was good at, just filling in that space between songs. And, we used to kind of joke that, we didn't need much of a set list for some of our gigs because Jeff would just talk the whole time anyway. But, that's he always told this one joke about, has anyone heard about the corduroy pillows? They're making headlines across the nation. And, when anyone tells that joke, it's really not that funny. But for some reason, when Jeff told it, everyone thought it was hilarious. So he just had that knack for doing that. And that was really kind of a special thing to watch and be a part of, even though it sort of maybe felt a little bit buggy at times with how much he talked. But yeah, we all miss it dearly now. So
indeed.
He was only 47 years old when he passed away. And you clearly are carrying his legacy with you as musicians. How do you think about that? Because, obviously you're moving forward with your lives, but you don't want to let him be forgotten. Jerry, how do you think about that?
Boy, tough question. I guess it it just allows me to, I guess I thought, in the old days that he and I would be playing music until we were old and gray. And because when we perform, we wear his face on our shirts, not all the time, but usually one of the members of the band has a Jeff shirt on. And it's like he's there with us. And I guess I had thought forever, just because, we started in 1997 together, and I had just played with him for so long that we were connected at the hip a little bit, and never really assumed that would stop. I thought at least, if nothing else, we'd be picking on somebody's porch somewhere until we were old and gray. And while he's not around, the fact that there's a community behind him, the fact that that community misses him and loves him, and the fact that the band sort of has certainly moved on in many ways, but at the same time, we haven't. The band is very much in honor of Jeff, and so we still carry him with us for sure, and it's a way for us to grow old and gray and continue to pick with the guy.
Andrew?
Yeah, I think the thing that I always kind of think about in terms of how Jeff is carried on with us at all the shows that we still perform at is seeing the audience. And, those are a lot of the people that come to see us are the folks that always came to Mr. Baber's Neighbors concerts back in the day, and being able to reconnect with those people and being able to see them smile and, just relive some of those kind of old days when Jeff was around. You can just see that vibe return and the kind of the happiness wash over people when they get to hear us play some of the songs. Like Jerry said, we still play a lot of the same stuff that we did back then. Bluegrass is a very communal music, and it's got a lot of standard songs that a lot of folks that play bluegrass know. And so, for us to be able to bring that feel and that experience that people had with Mr. Baber's Neighbors back to them, I think very much carries Jeff along for the ride with that.
The Beaverdale Bluegrass Festival is coming up here in just a couple of weeks, I guess just about 2 weeks from now. You guys will be among the many bands playing at the festival. What are you looking forward to, Andrew?
Well, I have played this festival a few times now, and I'm sad to say that I've only learned about it in the last couple of years. But it's a fantastic festival, and it has a ton of people. Like you were talking to one of the committee members earlier, and it's just got a great vibe to it. It's people out there to enjoy the day and enjoy the Iowa summer and enjoy the live music scene here. And so it's a fun festival to go to, and it's run very well, and they've got a great group of folks that organize and put it on every year. And so I just look forward to the overall vibe and the great community that comes out to support it.
Andrew Hoiberg, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Jerry Haley, thank you.
Thank you, Charity. It's been a pleasure.
Jerry Haley and Andrew Hoiberg are members of the Baberhood Bluegrass Band. They will be performing at the Beaverdale Bluegrass Festival on July 11th. You can find out more at beaverdalebluegrass.com. And we're going to go out with a song written by Jeff Blanchard. This is Gloryland, performed by Mr. Baber's Neighbors in 2008.
I lost the line, I left the law far behind. I hear the music once again. Mama says someday I go to heaven, that I could join in the angel band, singing praise to the Lord and Savior, making sweet music in the glory land.
This is Talk of Iowa from IPR News. I'm Charity Nebbe.